Ha, no kidding, man. What is going on, guys? Just getting things kind of set up and changed around here. You can see by the looks of the bench that it has been a crazy day, crazy week when it comes to FPV. But it's all good. Well, where to start? I mean, I guess I can start today and rewind back. Today, I went to fly this future long-range nano goblin again, and I did some reworking with the wiring this morning, and I must not have paid attention, and I actually just figured out, that's why it's on the bench, that I had my servos reversed in Inav, and so when I took off, if you see the video that I just posted about an hour or two ago about my adventures last night, basically this thing just went straight up into the air and I couldn't get it down because I had down trim on it, which made it even more down trim, so it was totally uncontrollable. It came nose in, and I basically split the nose from around here all the way around. But it's all glued back up with foam tack, and I also have it kind of weakened because I've added some cooling holes and stuff because I might have a possible overheating flight controller going on. So I'm trying to figure out a couple things with this puppy. I'm not going to give up on it, but it's just all these little things that have to be ironed out after everything went really good. Yeah, totally. It's not even laminated. I've got tape on some spots and everything. More tape on it now, of course, but if you guys Beacon foam tack, it's the best glue for these kind of planes. I mean, it literally glues them back together. You could probably go fly it in a half hour, if not an hour, after you get it all put back together. As long as you got like nice brakes that are jagged or whatever, as long as you can get in there and kind of push it back together a little bit, everything's all good. So it's all in there, and I got the hatch busted here. It's glued back together, and I've got some tape on there, and I've got everything wired back in to the inside, so everything is working in there. As you can see, it is quite a mess just because the size of this nano goblin, there's just really nothing else you can do as far as kind of have a mess. You can really only clean it up like so far. You've got obviously lots of different wires and everything for Inav, so you have to kind of figure out a way just to kind of make it all work. Trying to get here so we can zoom in, take a little closer look here. There we go. But yeah, it's got the full gambit, GPS, crossfire, all that stuff. There's the flight controller right there, and then all the wires just kind of stuffed in there. As neat as I can get it. It's running off all the stock parts for the Nano Goblin, stock motor, stock ESC, servos, all that kind of stuff. Cricket V2. Yesterday, zoom out a little bit, the split mini, which just kind of hangs like up here. And then I've got a 3S lithium ion battery that you stick in there because the lithium ions are way more dense. You get a lot more power, and they are half the weight, if not more, of all the different batteries that you can stick in there. So it's an awesome flying plane. Really nice. It should be like around, it should weigh like around 3, we'll weigh it right now. Because I actually haven't weighed it since I did all the mods. There's actually a big fight going on about these right now because people are, this is like a legitimate long range setup. People are flying these things for like 20, 30 miles for, and they're flying them for, some people are flying them for over 100 minutes. They're approaching 200. So all up weight with the big battery, 374. So that's not bad, and you can still achieve CG with it compared to the normal 2S. So with the normal 2S, it's 309. But there's a guy that is kind of like the guy that I'm following on the strict on RC groups and on Facebook and everything like that. And I'm pretty much following his build and designs and everything like that. Except I'm using different components. I'm not using an omnibus. I'm using the CL Racing F4 Air V2. I'm using Cricket V2. And I'm using Crossfire. And of course he's using Dragon Link, which I used to have a Dragon Link back in the day. And Dragon Link is a really awesome long-range system, but it just doesn't have the benefits and stuff that Crossfire has. It doesn't have the faster protocol. Just doesn't have all that integration. It's literally like 4 range, but you don't have to really worry about stuff. Like when it comes to like worrying about link quality and RSSI and everything with Dragon Link, I mean, you just don't have to worry about it. It's literally just turn the thing on, put it in high power mode, which I think is either 1.5 or 2 watts, and just go. Like, you don't have to worry about none of the stuff that, you know, we still have to worry about with Crossfire. And that's really what I want to do, is I really want to actually try some real range with this thing. I mean, with my old Bixler 3 that I still have laying around here, I had a Vector and Dragon Link on that, and I flew that 19 miles away. It was a 36 to 40 mile round trip on like a 4S 3000 or 5S 3000 10C multi-star battery. There's some of the video, I think, on my channel if you go like way back, like 3 years ago, I think. So that's pretty much been my week as far as like this goes. I've been dealing with that. I had a good maiden with it last night, and last night something happened with the flight controller, which is kind of why I'm kind of having some issues with it still. The flight controller reset in like mid-flight, so I had video, but I didn't have control for a couple seconds, and then it restarted, and it basically set a new home position where it restarted, which was over a kilometer and a half away. So I couldn't do return to home, but at the same time, my video was going really bad because I was testing the Cricket V2 to see how far I could get on this combo at 200 milliwatts. I don't know why I didn't just have it on 600, but for some reason I had it on 200. I think it was because I thought I was having problems with my LaForge, because I have an old LaForge. I got like a 1.5, and they're on like 4 now or something like that. So it's been acting kind of funky lately anyway. So I basically pulled it all out today, because if you look at the video, I put in my buddy's video from his Furious, and he was his video was better than mine. And I could, if I would have had his video, I probably would have been able to fly it back. Instead, it went down like a kilometer out, just, you know, a half kilometer past our flying field, over a wood line into like a junkyard, back in like this swampy, muddy area. It sucked like getting it, but it was super easy to get because I had coordinates from the Crossfire on, you know, which is another thing that you wouldn't get with Dragon Link, and I had coordinates on the DVR, so that was a huge deal. So we were able to retrieve it. It didn't take long at all. I mean, it took longer to like walk to it than to get it. So needless to say, I've done a few things to kind of try to prevent that today. So now we have the Furious, and my goggles feel like 20 pounds lighter because I don't have these big crazy doors on here anymore, and I don't have the other diversity module for the LaForge, and I pulled the cable out that I did the mod, and everything works really good now. My IPD adjustments work really good. So I went to test this today, but then I had that problem with the Nano Goblin, and you know how it goes with like FPV. If you have like a bad day, you just better stop and not try to do anything else. So I didn't even take up any of my other quads. It was like blowing like 15-20 miles an hour, but I could have flew here today at the house, but I just decided not to. So I'll just test this tomorrow. This one came with 3.6, so this is basically like the newest module that they have. And I mean, I don't have any reason for not going with LaForge. I know that they have had a few issues with their new version that they came out with, but I've seen the performance with this, and it's just as good, I think. And it's cheaper, so that's why I decided to go this route. I don't think it's a bad route. I'm not, you know, a sponsored pilot or anything like that, so I have no loyalty towards anybody. The only loyalty I have really is towards you guys on here on the channel. So firmware's all upgraded. The thing fits great. Like, it's really awesome. There's no light leak on this one. I don't know if some people have the version 3 or whatever that kind of had the different door. So this has the door that holds the board in there, and it's got the USB slot cut out for firmware updating. So yeah, everything's good. Everything's good with that. So we'll be giving that a test tomorrow, even though the winds are supposed to be just as bad and everything else. And yeah, it's cheaper, easier, and cleaner, man. Like, I don't know. And I definitely wasn't, and I'm definitely not buying a Clearview. I wouldn't buy a Clearview anyway because of the price. And now that, like, I've seen different people coming out with like the actual videos of the performance of it and everything like that, it just doesn't interest me at all. So it's like, if I'm going to go that far, then I'll just break out my 2.4 stuff, which is another benefit to Furious, because now I can pull out that module and I can more easily put my 2.4 module in there if I don't want to take my ground station with me. To fly this, which I'm running 2.4 on. So that's, you know, pretty sweet. And the 2.4 goggle module with just like the old Mad Mushroom 2.4 will get me like cheese. It'll get me miles for sure. So as you can tell, I've definitely made a little bit of a switch this week, going back to getting ready for like planes and stuff like that. Just kind of getting that itch. I already had these things laying around. I brought the Recruit last year. If anybody, I mean, either one of these planes out of the box with just a receiver are freaking amazing, especially the Recruit because it's got the stabilizer built into it. And then, if you want to, you can just start beefing it up and adding things up to it. You start with your FPV, and then you can do something like Crossfire, and then you can get into Inav if you want to. Runs off 3S 2200 batteries. So there's a lot of stuff you can do with that wing, and I think it's only like $90 or something, plug and play. So it's a heck of a deal. So I spent a lot of time the past couple weeks working on this, which I'm sure a lot of people are interested in, the Heliorc. And it's the second one I've got that doesn't have candy in it. I don't understand. They must not be able to put candy in the ones that are sold here in America or something like that. I don't know. Either that or they stopped putting candy in them. Not sure what's going on with that. Yeah, it's a great time, man. And like I said, I spent so much time on this and was so frustrated until some things finally started coming together with some, I don't even know if it's out yet or not. It's probably not even out, but there's some test firmware and stuff out there that they were letting some people in the Slack channel have, and people that they saw that I guess could either had time to provide feedback or whatever, and I've got plenty of time, so when it comes on the weekends, as long as the weather's good, and so I'm running on the one reverb, the Heliorc with like this super duper test file that they have that's running everything at 32K, and it's overclocked, and it just, got a couple videos up on it. It just flies awesome. These guys are definitely onto something with everything. It's the only downside to it is you either got to have a 4-in-1 ESC or a PDB, one or the other. So, and I run all separate ESCs, so therefore I had to use a PDB, but not a big deal. The way I reworked my stack and my reverb, it actually ended up being shorter. No, I don't have any of those boards, but I probably, I got in here. Here's basically how the story goes. You get into Crossfire, you put Crossfire on everything that you have, and then you kind of realize that you don't need it on everything that you have. So I had 4 or 5 Crossfire modules. I had them all on all my quads, and then I'm like, well, I don't really need every quad to go 3 or 4 miles. Like, I can fly everything I need to do within a half mile on anything. Most of the stuff like you guys do is still within a football field. So I put Crossfire just on a couple of my rigs, my one reverb with the Helio, just so I got the most connectivity as far as like speed and everything goes. And then I have one on my 5.5-inch Proton because that's like my main long range rig. Biggest reason why I don't run all-in-one ESCs is because I made a huge ESC purchase like in the summer last year, and I have them. Like, I don't need to, like, I don't want to go and like buy any and just not have these around. So I bought like I don't know, like 16 or 17 Speedix 30 amp HVs that run D-Shot 600. So I've pretty much just been blowing through those and using those on all of my quads. So there's really no reason why I didn't go with a 4-in-1. I just bought all those because I mean everything just kind of goes so fast. Um, if you go back to like July, August of last year, the amount of I don't even know what the best 4-in-1 was last year besides maybe the Bolt. Other than that, there might have been like, I don't know what people were using, like a Cicada or something like that. Like the 4-in-1s to me really didn't start kicking off and taking off real time until maybe October, November. So, yeah, well, yeah, that's why I moved the Crossfire stuff over to the planes instead of buying new ones, because I can't afford to do it now to do it either. And you know, it's super exciting when you first get it and you do all that, and then you're just kind of like, oh man, like the Nanos have came out and I've seen them, touched them, put my hands on them. They're amazing, but it's like, you know, it's the size of an XSR and a little bit bigger, but I would love to have them, but it's like I don't really need them. Like, unless I buy another plane, then I'll get a Crossfire for it. But anything else, I'm probably just going to throw the XSRs back in there. It just is easier and it just works. Yeah, and the other thing that got me really stoked about 4-in-1s too is, I mean, about all-in-ones, is I guess when the Bardwell flight controller came out, because, you know, I tried and am still tried to like standardize as much as I can, because I hate just having like one-offs and two-offs of everything. Like if I could, I would have the same cameras and everything like that at all. So I've standardized pretty much on ESCs and motors. Flight controllers, I either have Bardwell's or I have the Helio Spring now on one of them. ESCs, I do have a quad with D-Shot 1200 ESCs on it, so I kind of got away from that. But cameras, I can't really standardize on, because every frame takes a different camera now. Like my Reverbs and my 6-inch Ethics Cougar have Runcam Eagle 2s, and my Recruit has a Runcam Eagle 2 on it, and then of course the Babyhawk and the Proton have micros. So the Proton has the Micro Eagle 2 Pro, which, because that's just the best micro camera that you can get. Like, I love the Eagle 2, and since it's a micro, it's just perfect. And then I picked up one of the Predators to put on the Babyhawk, because I hated the Fox ear that it came with. It had a really weird lens. But yeah, anyway, getting back to the 4-in-1s, like when the Bardwell came out, the price was so good, and I wanted to stock up and just go to like one flight controller. So I mean, I'm usually just like everybody else. I'll like buy and sell and buy and sell, and you buy something and sell it for 50% of the price, and then you just kind of work your way up. So, but it had just these pads in the corners and stuff like that. So that's what was really great, because it just fit my builds perfect. All in one board, right on there. The ESC's on the arms. I didn't have to flip anything over like I did with like the Betaflight F3 boards. Like, I couldn't stand that. And the Helio even has that too, because the Helio has the grounds for the ESC signals on the bottom and the signal on top, but it's actually not too bad. They're really small pads, but they really take solder really good, and these little purple gummies that they come with are like super heat resistant. You can really put a hot soldering gun next to it. Oh look, hey, check that out. I'll have to switch the camera here. The new packaged Helio came with the connector to hook up to a 4-in-1. Oh, that's good. The old ones didn't. I didn't even notice it. That's how fast I am as far as like wanting to mess with one and put it in the board again, put it in there again. Even though, like I said, with this special firmware, I don't know when it's getting released or whatever. It's just freaking amazing. It's finally what this is supposed to be. Yeah, I use all RXSRs. I think I still have like one XSR that I'm using, and I think the Babyhawk has like a DX8 or RX8 or whatever the heck it's called in there. So it's just impossible to like standardize anything. I swear that's the one thing about retiring the LaForge. 2 years old, 2.5, almost 2.5 years I got out of that thing. My Fat Sharks. I've had my Dominator HD. They're not even HDs. They're Dominator V2s. I've had those since I got my Sharpoo QAV 250. So that was like 2015, 2014. So but yeah, after not really doing a whole lot the past couple days as far as flying, I mean, I'm starting to get the itch now. I wish I would have flown a quad or two today at least out here and did some stuff and worked on some things, but I don't know, just kind of walking through that mud and all that stuff yesterday and all that drama. It's like, oh man. And then breaking the Nano Goblin in half today and gluing it back together and everything. I just didn't want to do anything else. So yeah, I see a lot of people using those commanders and stuff now. I mean, I'm in no hurry to buy another pair of goggles, even though I've heard that there's definitely a quality difference between what my V2s and like the new HD3s look like, or even their base 3 or whatever it's called. But I mean, it's like $400. It just is like, whatever. I'll run these until they're done, and then I'll make the switch. So I've also feel out of touch with what's going on the actual Facebooks and stuff like that. I haven't got onto any of the Slack channels to see what's going on with like Butterflight or anything like that at all, to see if they have kind of cleaned that up with another version. They're supposed to be, I don't know if they were releasing like 3.43 or something with some kind of different filter set that was supposed to kind of help people out or whatever. I'm still running the original 3.4 because it runs fine for me, and I'm not going around and going on a firmware witch hunt right now on anything. I've got my hands full with these planes. Yep, XSRs, RXSRs, do the antenna mod to like 31.25 millimeters, I think, and yeah, your range gets pretty good. Mount them correctly. I mean, I've seen people fly a mile, even over a mile, on an XSR or an RXSR, so it's all about what you need, what you want to do. But yeah, it's definitely time for a cleanup around here. I've just got like motors hanging out. That's because I just took this motor standardizing. I fly all the multicopter builder 2207 2450s. That's what I fly on everything except for my 6-inch. So this is on the 5.5-inch Proton. It's on both reverbs, and I put one of my backup ones on my Recruit wing but it's just a little too much kV, pulling a little too many amps on that thing. So I ended up picking up one of them. They're like $17 now. One of the Emax light spec 2207 1900 kVs. So I'm ready to give that a shot tomorrow and see how that works out. How do I keep them from getting chewed up? Well, if I had one of my quads here, I would show you, but they're all upstairs. Give me 2 seconds and I'll run up there and grab a couple of them. Alright, so reverb crossfire, I just put it on the underside of the arm. That's simple and easy. I've had no problems with it at all. I reinforce with glue, with E600 or shoe goo, the caps, the ends, and the UFL connector, which is right here on a broke crossfire. So I put a little bit on that. I do the same thing on my Unifies, even though you can solder them. So there's the reverb, and there's the stack in there with the PDB and the Helio. And then BTX is just, the Unifies just chilling out there in the back. And same thing on the 5.5-inch Proton. Even though the Proton comes with, see that 3D printed mount right there? So you can actually, if you're not going to do long range, if you're going to race, you can just put an Axie stubby in there, and then it's got 2 holes to just bring up your wires already, and it comes with tubes to put your FrSky wires up through there, and then you can actually put your XSR. There's a nice little space that Mike's made. These are the best frames ever. Nice little space like right there in between the 2 plates, and you can still get a Velcro strap in there, and that's where you do your binding and everything. But I actually got my regular crossfire to fit in there. It's a little crooked, so there's always 3D printed stuff. And then for, man, I love that quad. That thing is just so light. Then we go to the Beast, the 6-inch Canasti Cougar, and you can see what I do here is just pretty much the old school trick, which is zip tie and shrink tubing all the way up on both of the standoffs, and it works really well. So I don't really fly this baby long range anymore because it's so heavy it doesn't go that far anyway, but this thing like rips on 6S, I mean on 5S with 6-inch props, And since Butterflight came out, I could run my favorite carbon PC dual blades and not get any jello or nothing at all. So this actually has became almost my favorite freestyle quad to fly, just because it's so different compared to, you know, the Reverb or Aliens or anything else, because you're just running a completely different setup. You know, I'm running big motors and 5S and 6-inch props and all that crazy stuff. So this is fun. This is something that I'm going to have a lot of fun with over the next couple months. And anybody who's watched my live streams or my channels, I mean, I have probably rebuilt this thing like in 7 or 8 different configurations, and it's just taken any kind of configuration that I've thrown at it. Drop deck, all that kind of stuff. It's got an awesome TPU mount for like a full-size camera. Got the Impulse RC foam wedge there on the top. Awesome. What are you guys flying? Are you guys all like just freestyle, long range, racing? What's everybody doing? Hey. Everybody has a Martian. I got one of those right here. Nothing on it. It's got the old V1 steel motors. I don't know. When I first got my first Helio, I actually put it on here. So that might be an option. But these ESCs are old Acons, and something's going bad with them. It could be the phases in the motor too, because no matter what I did with this, I couldn't get rid of like video ground looping issues. Like at high throttle, my OSD would cut out no matter what. Caps all over the ESCs, cap on the battery. I don't know what's going on with it, but they all feel pretty good, slightly notchy, nothing horrible. So the 6-inch I did not have any problems with C-clips on those, and those are V1s, ironically. The 6-inch, I've got T-Motor F80s. These are the 2200s that are on there. You can get those for really cheap now, too. So this thing here is a beast. I mean, let's see here. With the battery and everything, 702, add the session, 773. And it flies like a dream. Total smooth video now with the fast Kalman running with Butterflight 3.4. It's just freaking great. Probably take that to the field tomorrow and see what I can do with that. Yeah, it is. And Eric talks about that a lot too in his videos. He gets a lot of like slack, you know. I mean, a lot of flack, a lot of slack. Yeah, I've been on Slack a lot. But he gets a lot of flack because everybody's, since you race and if people race and everything, we're all used to really light builds, but it's just a different way of flying. But for long range, you take the Proton and let's see. The Proton is at 360. This is 5.5 inch with everything except for battery and GoPro. So if we put a GoPro on there, 432, and then if I put like a 1600 5S on there, it's still at 664, but it doesn't fly like that one. It definitely flies like it's lighter, but it's my favorite quad right here, for sure. Definitely my favorite. Proton Skeleton. And there's that run cam micro eagle right in there, sitting pretty. And then it's just got a Bardwell F4 and Unify Pro up on top there. And then, like I said, it's got crossfire and everything like that. And one pink prop, because they didn't have any reds whenever these 5.5s came out. So now I've got red and pinks. And that kind of stuff is kind of starting to drive me crazy. So I've got red props and pink props and blue lock nuts. So go figure. Weird stuff. So I don't know, guys. That's it. I just wanted to do a quick weekly wrap up. Anybody got anything to talk about? Anything they want to rap about before we wrap this puppy up? Alright, dudes. Well, hey, appreciate you stopping by. Keep an eye on the channel, and we'll see if this baby here survives another flight tomorrow. Hopefully everything's all good with that FC, and we can maybe try to push this thing out to maybe a mile tomorrow. Like, I'd like to hit a mile. Got to go in, like, baby steps. We'll talk to you guys later.